On this Friday night, tributes and condolences flow in honor of an Ottawa teenager who's passed away. Jonathan Pitre inspired awe in those he met. His fight to help beat his illness inspired hope in those who continue to live with its brutality. Also tonight, 5 years after she died, how Rhea Parsons' legacy is felt by teenaged girls today. This is The National. And we begin tonight with a breaking news story we're following out of Saskatchewan. RCMP have confirmed a deadly crash involving a bus carrying a junior hockey team. This happened near Tisdale, which is about 200 kilometers northeast of Saskatoon. And just a little while ago, officials said that rescue efforts are still underway. Tracking this story for us from our bureau in Regina is Olivia Stefanovic. And Olivia, still early here. The story's still developing, but what can you tell us?
Well, Ian, what we know at this point is that the RCMP has, as you say, confirmed a number of fatalities and a number of injuries involving a passenger hockey bus that was going to Nipawin. And we can confirm at this point that it was the Humboldt Broncos Junior A team that was involved in this crash. All those players are under the age of 20, and this happened sometime this evening, about 2.5 hours north of Saskatoon on Highway 35, when a semi-trailer collided with this bus that the hockey team was traveling on. And we understand that the Humboldt Broncos Junior A team, they were scheduled to play in Nipawin this evening. Of course, now that hockey game has been canceled, and many of those players and the family members and people in the surrounding communities are looking for answers tonight, Ian, as to what happened here.
And in a careful, respectful way, we're looking for reaction to this collision. What are we seeing tonight on that?
Well, Ian, there's a lot of shock and a lot of questions. We understand that rescue efforts are continuing at this hour with the RCMP in that crash. And we know that a church has opened its doors to family members. The RCMP has sent out a release saying that victim service representatives and emergency personnel will be at this church welcoming family members, anybody from the nearby communities who are seeking counseling, seeking answers to this. We also just got off the phone with the Humboldt Mayor, Rob Munch, and he told us over the phone that he found this horrifying, and he thinks it will take a while for the communities to obviously get some answers and get some closure with this, Ian.
And of course, a lot of the basic questions still unanswered here, you know, far from the details of the investigation. So I know you're going to continue working the phones. We're doing the same thing here at the National Bureau in Vancouver, and we'll continue to track this story through the evening as it continues to develop. Well, on to more news now, and a disease that changed the life of a young man from almost the moment of his birth, leaving him in pain and limiting many of childhood's joys. But Jonathan Pitre had lessons to teach us all, that courage can be limitless, that no goal is too high to reach for, and that no dream is too much to imagine. Catherine Cullen takes a look at a life of challenge and inspiration.
And we are here to invite you to speak on stage as a We Day speaker for National We Day, April 1st.
Wow. Wow.
There will be 16,000 kids.
No problem.
Jonathan Pitre's disease made his body fragile, but not his spirit.
How's it going, We Day? I'm in constant pain, and most of the time I'm limited to my wheelchair. But that's the last negative thing you're going to hear from me. Instead, I want to share my dreams with you.
He was born with an incredibly painful disease known as epidermolysis bullosa, or EB. His skin constantly blistered and scarred, comparable to third-degree burns. A few years ago, he and his mother agreed to give the Ottawa Citizen newspaper an intimate look at his life. His story gained attention around the world and raised tens of thousands of dollars for an EB charity.
He has been one of the most heroic patients I have ever known, and heroic people I've ever known. And I have learned a great deal from him about how courageous and determined one can be.
Today, in a Facebook post, his mother, Tina Boileau, said he tirelessly fought to raise awareness for this horrific disease. I am proud to say you did it, Johnny boy. She asked for privacy for her family as they grieved a fearless warrior. People in Ottawa and beyond followed as Jonathan was in and out of hospital fighting his disease. Here he is right before heading to Minneapolis for a bone marrow transplant.
So it's going to be a pretty tough time, so I've been relaxing mostly. It's been good, though. I've been spending a lot of time with my family and my dog, so just trying to spend all the memories I can with them before I leave.
Among his admirers, his beloved Ottawa Senators, who made him a scout for a day and surprised him in Minnesota before that bone marrow transplant.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good to see you again.
Oh, come on. We got a hug.
We brought the whole team for you.
It's amazing and how inspiring a kid that young can be for so many people.
The Prime Minister called Jonathan a hero in every sense of the word, a courageous and determined fighter who persisted in the face of every challenge and who inspired so many. Ottawa's mayor called him one of the bravest people I ever had the honour of meeting. Jonathan Pitre died Wednesday from an infection. He was 17. Catherine Cullen, CBC News, Ottawa.
In Catherine's story, you may have noticed a butterfly on Jonathan's arm. There's a poignant meaning behind that. Due to their skin's fragility, he and others living with EB are known as butterfly children. And tonight, the Ottawa Senators paid another special tribute to Jonathan as they warmed up for their game against Pittsburgh. The team posted this picture on Instagram, the initials JP and a butterfly. EB is a rare disease. In the United States, for example, about 20,000 babies are born with it each year. Not all of them have the severe form that Jonathan had, but for those who do, there's no cure and very little treatment. Some patients spend hours every day wrapping their bodies and changing dressings to protect their wounds and to prevent infection. Some have also undergone experimental treatments like skin grafts. We recently got a close look at what it's like to care for a child with EB. Crystal Normand and her husband invited us to their home to meet their 4-month-old Leo.
If you were a big scary ape, I would make your birthday cake out of bananas and I would tell you, I love you. Then I'd make you a mountain of hamburgers. When Leo was born, just from the trauma, actually his feet, all the skin was removed just from that in utero friction. With Leo's skin and other people with EB, the bottom layer is anchored, but the top layer doesn't have that. That holds it in place. So that in turn friction will cause blistering or the skin to actually shear right off. Every time we went out, he would have a different wound in a different place, and it was never what we had anticipated. We've had to really be creative in making some adaptations to his equipment. So using like a foam piece in between his legs in the car seat, using padding in different areas, even like when we're planning our routes, like we don't want to go down bumpy roads or anything that might provide additional rubbing on his skin. Here we go. Personally, it was really almost like therapeutic or cathartic to be able to speak about it. It like takes some of the power away from the condition. We tried to find the positive in every day, every smile, every little thing we don't take for granted with him. Of all the genetic conditions, this is probably the one that's got the most hope for a cure or a really effective treatment, and it's hopeful that that'll be within the next 5 years or so. It's kind of an exciting thing for us, the prospect that he could be healed maybe by the time he's ready to attend school. Hello! You can show your big boy strength. Look at that.
You heard Norman say she's hoping for a treatment, and recently doctors in Europe used experimental gene therapy on a young patient with promising results. They took a small piece of the boy's skin, added a modified version of his mutated gene, and they grew sheets of skin in a lab, and when it was ready, they transplanted it. 8 months later, nearly all of the boy's skin had been replaced. A deal on NAFTA may be just around the corner. CBC News has learned the negotiators are hammering out the details of a preliminary agreement in Washington, and we could see an announcement in the coming days or weeks. That would be a big change in tone for the Trump administration, whose trade feud with China is escalating. We'll have more on that in just a moment. But first, Katie Simpson on the renewed sense of optimism at the NAFTA talks.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Chrysler Freeland emerged from 5 hours of high-level meetings empty-handed, but not disappointed.
We have entered, over the past couple of weeks, very much including today,
a new, more intensive phase of engagement.
The re-energized discussions will be handed over to the chief negotiators, who will keep talking over the next few days. CBC News has learned NAFTA partners are close to an agreement in principle that would focus heavily on the auto sector. A source with direct knowledge of the talks says the details could be worked out in a matter of weeks, or it could even be completed before the heads of all three countries meet late next week at the Summit of the Americas.
Well, we're all working very hard to try and get to make as much progress as we can in a shorter period of time.
Looming elections in Mexico this summer and the U.S. this fall are partly behind the recent drive to work faster. And there are clear signs the political will to get to a deal is there.
Let's smile.
Delegations from all three countries met last night for a friendly dinner to set the mood for today's discussions. Even with the smiles and hugs, there is much work ahead. But for Canada's Foreign Affairs Minister, who has spent months trying to keep this deal alive, these developments are positive.
I think she really is reassured that the U.S. isn't going to pull the plug on this deal, that we probably can come to a successful negotiation eventually.
Canada is desperate for that kind of reassurance. The longer there is uncertainty around NAFTA, the more likely it is that investors will choose to put their money in the U.S. rather than Canada. Katie Simpson, CBC News, Washington.
So it seems the Trump administration is working towards a NAFTA deal with one hand while it starts a trade war with the other. The U.S. president says he's considering imposing tariffs on an additional $100 billion in imports from China. But on a New York radio show, he did acknowledge the inherent danger of provoking the world's second largest economy.
We've already lost a trade war. We don't have a trade war. We've lost a trade war. The easiest thing for me to do would be just to close my eyes and forget it. If I did that, I'm not doing my job. So I'm not saying there won't be a little pain, but the market's gone up 40%, 42%, so we might lose a little bit of it. But we're going to have a much stronger country when we're finished.
Well, the markets reacted with pain today. The Dow Jones closing down nearly 600 points. That's 2.3%. The S&P 500 was down more than 2% as well, and the TSX slipped as well. Asian markets seemed relatively unrattled, as did Chinese officials who show no sign of backing down. Lindsay Duncombe has reaction.
First week on the job, and Donald Trump's top economic advisor is turning down the temperature on his boss's tough talk.
Nothing's happened. Nothing's been executed. I read about how there's no there yet, but there will be.
Trump's $100 billion threat is just that, a statement, not an order. Strategic bluster, perhaps. But the Chinese are taking it seriously, promising today to fight back quickly and decisively. U.S. farmers are especially scared of what that could mean. They depend on Chinese markets. Republican Senator from Nebraska Ben Sasse said if he's half serious, this is nuts, calling Trump's plan the dumbest possible way to deal with China. Democrats were equally blunt.
There are smart ways of negotiating, and there are stupid ways of negotiating. You don't want to put yourself in the position of having to basically lose your credibility if you have to back down.
But being tough on China was a key theme of the president's election campaign, and some believe it's the only way to solve legitimate grievances, such as Chinese companies stealing trade secrets from American competitors.
You can't have free trade with a country that cheats and steals.
To put Trump's threat in perspective, it's right in line with another unexpected pronouncement this week, the hastily organized plan to put National Guard troops on the border with Mexico. Both plans appeal to the president's base, and both have left officials to brace for the consequences. Lindsay Duncombe, CBC News, Washington.
Some people who live in a Hamilton, Ontario neighborhood are still reeling tonight after witnessing a teenager shot and killed by police earlier this week. Officers were called here on Tuesday after a report of a threat involving a weapon. Ontario Special Investigations Unit, now investigating the incident, says 2 officers fired their weapons, striking Quinn McDougall. The 19-year-old was pronounced dead in hospital. Shannon Windsor says her 3 kids were playing road hockey and they saw the police shooting.
The questions are, what if I see it again, Mom? Why did it happen? Was Quinn the bad guy? Are the cops the bad guys? Why would they shoot him?
An exclusive CBC News investigation has tracked fatal interactions between Canadians and police. As we showed you last night, the number of people killed has been going up. Katie Nicholson went inside an RCMP training program aimed at reversing that trend.
Of all the classrooms an RCMP cadet will spend time in, they'll likely log the most hours in this one, learning how to apply deadly force with precision. A CBC analysis of police-involved deaths since 2000 found 461 people died in interactions with police. 118 of those deaths involved the RCMP, which polices nearly 8 million people in Canada. 14% of the people shot and killed by RCMP were unarmed, more than twice the national average. Recently, they've introduced methods to better train people, going a little more high-tech than paper targets. Think of it as a giant gaming system. There's pepper spray, a baton, and as a last resort,
we supply them with a pistol, which is the exact same pistol that our members use, except it's modified to have a laser in the barrel, and it shoots the laser towards the screen.
What's your problem?
This game is harder than it looks.
Are you gonna shoot me?
Hey, calm down. I don't want you. I want you to just calm down and relax.
And it puts you on the spot.
Right now, you've got that time. You've got that window to keep the verbals going like you've got.
But in this program, talk is not enough. And not using force isn't an option.
And if he hits you in the head and it causes you to go unconscious and you go down, what's he got access to?
Everything.
Everything, including your?
My gun.
Then what could happen?
I would be dead.
Potentially.
Yeah.
What?
It's hard to figure out the exact moment it's too late for pepper spray and time for lethal force.
Just relax. Let's just talk this through.
You better do something quick.
Let's. Okay. Sorry. Gonna have to do this.
You son of a bitch!
The more we can expose them to it, the more practice we can give them, hopefully the better they'll perform out in the field.
Cadets are also trained on how to calm themselves down in a crisis. It's a technique called combat breathing.
It's taking in a deep breath and holding it, releasing it, and pausing before you take the next one. It brings the heart rate down. It breaks the tunnel vision and allows them to regain their focus and make sure that they're getting a complete picture.
But the former head of the Toronto Police Service Board says there's still far too much of an emphasis on guns in police training.
It is the bulk of their training. And they have to recertify every year in use of deadly force. What is the message they get? That this is the most important skill that they have.
Hell no.
But maybe the skills learned in this classroom will mean officers will be less likely to have to use the skills from this classroom in the field. Katie Nicholson, CBC News, Regina.
And a CBC News analysis shows that on average, every 2 weeks, someone in this country dies in an interaction with police. Sometimes that comes with criminal consequences for the officer involved. Of the 461 cases since 2000 involving a fatal interaction with police, the CBC could only identify 18 where criminal charges were laid against an officer. Just 2 of those resulted in convictions. Constable James Forcillo was found guilty of attempted murder in the death of Sami Yatim on a Toronto streetcar in 2013. And Sergeant Eric Delorier was found guilty of manslaughter in the fatal shooting of teenager David Hughes Lacour in 2014. Both are appealing their convictions. Here's what else we're working on tonight on The National. We continue to track that breaking news out of Saskatchewan, the fatal bus crash involving a junior A hockey team. We will have an update for you just ahead. The Trump administration slaps new sanctions on members of Putin's inner circle. What does that really mean in Moscow? Chris Brown will tell us. And 5 years after her death, how Rhea Parsons changed conversations in her community and across Canada.
I've gone to parties with a specific intent to just get laid. I too could have caused something like that to happen. I too could have ruined a young girl's life. I too could have ruined, an entire family's life.
We are live on the National and following breaking news out of Saskatchewan. A deadly collision involving a semi-truck and a bus carrying a junior hockey team. It happened 30 kilometers north of Tisdale, which is northeast of Saskatoon. Right now, we're working on getting more details from police on the crash, including to find out how many people were killed. But the Nipawin Hawks of the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League says the team bus belonging to the Humboldt Broncos was involved. Tributes are being posted online, including a tweet from the major junior league, the Western Hockey League, saying the WHL is keeping the Humboldt Broncos in its thoughts tonight. Hockey is family. We will have more on this breaking story throughout the hour and throughout the evening. The Trump administration took aim at Russia today with new sanctions against some of its most powerful people. It is the latest in a series of increasingly tough measures meant to punish Russia for its involvement in Syria and Crimea and for trying to influence the U.S. election. The measures target 7 oligarchs with close ties to President Vladimir Putin and a dozen companies they own or control. They also affect 17 high-level officials at the Kremlin and a government agency in charge of selling Russian-made weapons. Well, let's get the perspective from Moscow now, and that's where our reporter Chris Brown is based. And Chris, the West has hit Russia with sanctions since 2014. How significant are these?
They're pretty significant, but also slightly different as well. The first few rounds of sanctions tended to focus mostly on people inside Russia's government, in the Kremlin, the Justice Ministry, also certain sectors such as the oil sector. This broadens that circle fairly dramatically, really going after the people who control, who run Russia's economy, the tycoons, as it were. The point is that there's a lot of money that goes back and forth between the Kremlin and this very small elite, and they're trying to disrupt that. Take the case of one of them, Oleg Deripaska. He's worth $6 billion according to Forbes. He's known as Russia's aluminum king. Today, the U.S. Treasury Department also said he's a pretty shady character, responsible for things such as extortion, racketeering, investigated for money laundering. What this is going to mean is that any of his assets in any U.S. jurisdictions can now be seized, and any business that he does with any other company, well, the Americans can put sanctions on that company. So the point is to try to make him and his money as toxic as possible.
And what has the reaction been in Russia today?
Lots of reaction. On the one hand, the Kremlin is saying not really so much of a big deal. We've survived sanctions before, which is true. Russia's economy did bounce back after those sanctions brought in 2014. And maybe many ordinary Russians won't feel this because it's aimed at the elite. On the other hand, a lot of critics outside Russia are very happy. They think that this is the kind of thing that should have been done a long time ago, going after the class that essentially supports Vladimir Putin. There is a chance, though, it could all backfire. Already today, we've heard from the Kremlin that they're not going to simply abandon any of these companies that are under sanctions. They're going to extend credit. They're going to extend the money if they need it. And that, in effect, could end up bringing many of these sanctioned companies even closer to the Kremlin.
Chris Brown in Moscow tonight. Now, Chris mentioned one of the oligarchs being targeted by these new sanctions, Oleg Deripaska, Russia's so-called aluminum king. Now, here's a look at some of the others. Kirill Shamalov married Vladimir Putin's youngest daughter in 2013, quickly becoming one of Russia's richest men. At one point, he owned almost a quarter of a major petrochemicals firm. After that marriage reportedly ended, Putin is believed to have punished Shamalov financially, though he remains very wealthy. Suleiman Karimov controls Russia's largest gold producer. He's noted for both his philanthropy and his questionable dealings. Karimov remains under investigation in France on tax evasion charges. And that's Alexander Torshin. He may not be the wealthiest Russian on the list, but he reportedly has deep ties within the NRA. Torshin is believed to have tried to set up a meeting between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin at an NRA convention in 2016. Still ahead, Rehtaeh Parsons' death began a cross-country conversation 5 years ago, from consent to cyberbullying and how to give girls the tools to stand up for themselves. Her legacy for teens in her community, next.
It breaks my heart that it wasn't talked about as much as it should have been.
You know, we should just honor her by spreading her story and not, just hiding it away because it's something really important.
We are closely following a situation about 200 kilometers northeast of Saskatoon tonight. A tractor trailer collided with a bus carrying a junior hockey team on its way to a game. The RCMP and other emergency responders still at the scene, still very much developing at this hour. We are confirming some of the details at this point. The RCMP said there were deaths and injuries. The STARS Air Ambulance sent 2 helicopters to the scene. The Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League is saying that the bus in the crash belonged to the Humboldt Broncos and that their game with the Nipawin Hawks has now been postponed. Condolences starting to come in from other teams in the league and other leagues in Western Canada. Olivia Stefanovic has been working the phones on this story. She joins us from our bureau in Regina. And Olivia, what else have you learned?
Well, Ian, there are still so many questions and not many answers at this point, but we do have photos now of the scene of that crash involving a bus that this hockey team, this junior A hockey team, was traveling on to Nipawin, as you say, for a hockey game. Of course, that has been canceled. We understand at the time of the crash that there were clear skies, but the team may have been traveling on roads with wintry conditions. Now, we don't know if that was a factor, of course, in this crash. What we do know is that a semi-truck collided with this bus about 2.5 hours north of Saskatoon. And all these players from the Humboldt Broncos junior A team are under the age of 20. And, you know, the mayor of Humboldt, we spoke to him, Rob Munch, and he says that these are local kids and this is a horrible situation.
And of course, there can be some overage juniors as well, so anywhere from kind of 21 and under, the young men who would be on this team. And reaction has obviously been pouring into to this story. Take us through some of that, Olivia.
Yeah, well, many people are shocked. There's many people tweeting about this, trying to find any answers they can on social media. There are some people at the scene right now, some photographers who we've been in touch with, and they say that this section of road where this crash happened is actually blocked off, so you can't actually get near the site of this crash at this moment to get a sense of what happened here. But we do know that a local church and an arena in the nearby Nipawin and Humboldt have both opened their doors to people who are seeking counseling, people who are seeking answers at this moment, Ian. And Premier Scott Moe has also tweeted, he says that from a grieving province, he thanks first responders and medical professionals for their courageous response under the most difficult of circumstances imaginable. And he says we must pray for these families, Ian.
You know, anyone knows anything about junior hockey, they know about those buses that do long trips in wintry conditions and almost always safely. But in Saskatchewan, as you know, some long memories of that crash with the Swift Current Broncos back in 1986. So still early here in terms of this story developing. So I know you, our bureau here in Vancouver, and other CBC journalists will be following the breaking developments in the story. We are live here for hours, so we'll continue to update this story on The National. Well, tomorrow marks 5 years since the death of Rehtaeh Parsons, whose ordeal brought scrutiny to sexual assault and privacy in this age of technology. At 15, Rehtaeh went to a party to see friends and have fun. Instead, she was photographed while vomiting out a window as a boy had sex with her. That photograph was then shared online, sparking more than a year of humiliation and bullying that ultimately proved to be too much. Rehtaeh died in hospital after a suicide attempt. She was 17 years old. The outrage over her death and what led to it is still being felt 5 years later, especially in her home community in Nova Scotia. Elizabeth Chu explores Rehtaeh's legacy.
At Sackville High School, there's a girls' empowerment club, Girl on Fire. They're not afraid to talk about heavy stuff.
Yeah. You don't think it's talked about enough? Yeah.
Sexual consent, self-worth, depression. Those issues dogged Rehtaeh Parsons.
It breaks my heart that it wasn't talked about as much as it should have been.
I think maybe like the Rehtaeh story was talked about with adults, but who it really needs to be focused on is like teens, like people our age. Like that's who it happened to, a girl that was 15.
I remember seeing it on the news actually, and then as a 10-year-old, you know, like you don't really think about that kind of stuff until it happens.
Their worldview, their lives have been changed by Rehtaeh.
A lot more people are aware of like consent and that it wasn't her fault at all, because teenagers stuff happens, and doesn't mean that they have right to do that to her at all.
Guiding the group is a teacher, Megan Lemoyne. She herself was sexually assaulted, but she doesn't see herself as a victim.
For me, talking about it does take the power away, and it does help me.
She's walking the talk.
I hope that instead of like this seeming like a super downer, that it's more of a like rage fire that makes you want to go out there in the world and, you know, stand up for yourself and be a positive role model for other girls.
In the aftermath of that photo, lawyer David Fraser successfully challenged Nova Scotia's first cyberbullying law, which had been rushed through months after Rehtaeh died. A court deemed it was unconstitutional. A new law was passed, but not enacted. Fraser gave the government recommendations on regulations, and he hopes they get it right this time. But even after all the talk about how to stop cyber abuse, he says that misses the heart of her story.
Consent, young people, alcohol consumption, intoxication, all these other sorts of things that really was at the core of the beginning of what happened.
Jacob Wells went to high school with Rehtaeh. The date she died is tattooed to his wrist, her mark on his life.
You know, I've gone to parties with a specific intent to just get laid.
He didn't really know her. She was a few years younger than him, and he didn't think much about all the rumors and gossip about her. But his younger sister was a friend of hers who opened his eyes, and he reached his own reckoning, an ugly truth.
It really upset me to realize, you know, this young girl's no longer here. Her family's forever ruined. I too could have caused something like that to happen. I too could have ruined a young girl's life. I too could have ruined, you know, an entire family's life.
Wells is a construction worker who journals about topics like consent. It helps him to cope with depression. But he struggles with how to talk to his buddies at the job site over how they talk about and ogle women.
Most men, you know, you see a girl walking up the sidewalk, it's just ridiculous.
Rehtaeh's friends are now young women, but she's not forgotten. As a teen, Bryony Jollymore was threatened by a bully to stop talking about her friend. But she won't stop. She's even given her daughter a middle name, Rehtaeh. But some things never change.
When I did this, I actually had some people that thought it was wrong to name her after her, and were kind of more like, wow, well, why would you name your daughter after some girl that killed herself or something?
Her answer? Rehtaeh was kind and caring. She'll share with her daughter the sadness, too, and vows to help kids in distress in Rehtaeh's memory.
The girl who changed all the rules. Changed how we viewed things. She, her story almost kind of, I find, rewrote what we think about mental health and suicide awareness. So.
And she went to a party with a friend.
The conversation that's opened up about sexual consent, mental health, empowerment is the legacy that endures. Just ask Madison Sasko, one of the youngest members of Girl on Fire. She's 15.
You know, we should just honor her by spreading her story and like not, you know, just hiding it away because it's something really important.
She was 15.
Elizabeth Chu, CBC News, Lower Sackville.
Because it's so woven into this country's fabric, hockey is a natural for memorializing and paying tribute. Now a new Canadian movie is expanding the metaphor. Indian Horse tells the story of a young Ojibwe boy. For him, hockey is an escape from the searing residential school experience. And while the shame of that Canadian institution reaches across generations, the film suggests this country's game has its own history to reckon with. Salima Shivji looks at a complex relationship.
They said I should tell my story.
A story of being ripped from his family, stripped of his culture.
The Lord God is your father now.
Yet finding refuge on the rink. Indian Horse is based on the novel by the late Richard Wagamese. The author's poetic words now translated to the screen.
The film is stark. It doesn't shy away from depicting cruel racism and the lingering scars of the residential school system. Montreal director Stephen Campanelli, who recruited his friend Clint Eastwood to executive produce, follows several decades of Saul's life, portrayed by 3 actors. Sladen Peltier, who plays the youngest Saul, was plucked directly from his team's roster. He had no acting experience. A year later, he was nominated for a Canadian Screen Award. His coach father coached him on set, and both parents supported him through emotional scenes. Sladen's reaction to his new role can sound like any kid.
I was like, wow, I'm going to be in a movie. Whoa.
At other times, it's clear the 11-year-old understands the power of this story.
This is to teach people about what happened, and it's to help people heal from what happened.
I had to get out. I had to get out.
Painful to watch for Fred Sasakamoose, the first Indigenous man to play in the NHL and a residential school survivor himself.
It brought back some, feelings, right? The hurt that I went through in 1940, 1939. I always wanted to go home. I always wanted to.
For Sasakamoose, it was much easier to watch the hockey scenes, even as Saul is floored by racial slurs from both teammates and fans.
I got shocked seeing Indians skate.
The more you yell at me as a redskin, I wanted to continue.
The Flyers explode early, spearheaded by record-breaking Reggie Leach.
As did Reggie Leach, a former Philadelphia Flyer and the league's top goal scorer in the mid-70s. His real-life path used as inspiration in the fictional film.
They're saying Reggie Leach is going to tear up the record books. He's an Indian kid just like you.
I was the Indian guy. I finally had the white guys chasing me. So that's the way I looked at it. I remember my coach, Pat Chanel, telling me that only reason they're calling you names, everything, they're noticing you on ice.
Saul is told the same thing in the movie by his coach. For the actor who plays the older Saul, Indian Horse tells necessary truth for all Canadians.
For the Indigenous audiences that come to see it, I think it's really important for them to be able to see their stories on the big screen and see something that kind of validates their stories.
And while these real-life Indigenous players made it to the NHL, the film isn't a fairy tale. Saul doesn't make it past the abuse to the big leagues.
It showed the truth about the racism and the way they treated Saul. I mean, it happened to a lot of people, including myself.
No sugarcoating a story that many say needs to be told and widely shared. Salima Shivji, CBC News, Toronto.
Still ahead, almost 2 months after the school shooting in Parkland, the student newspaper released its memorial print issue today. Coming up, one of the student editors tells us what it's like to be a journalist and a survivor.
When I was writing the story, I remember I was literally wiping tears away from my eyes as I was typing, and so it just took me a very long time to write the story, but I promised his family that I would write the best story I could ever write for him.
And we continue to watch the developing story in Saskatchewan, the RCMP confirming deaths in the crash involving a tractor trailer and a bus carrying members of a hockey team. Injuries reported as well. This collision happening earlier this evening near Tisdale. It's about 200 kilometers northeast of Saskatoon. 2 helicopters were dispatched by the STARS Air Ambulance Service. The Nipawin Hawks of the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League wrote on their Facebook page that the crash involved the team bus of the Humboldt Broncos. Now, we don't know how many people were on that bus. We know the Broncos have 24 players listed on their playoff roster. We are, as you know, continuing to track these developments, and we are live here on the National for the next couple of hours. And actually, it's coming up now to 9 o'clock Mountain Time, so that's 9 o'clock in Saskatchewan this time of year, and the RCMP will be giving its next briefing at 1:15, so about 25 minutes from now. So we are making calls to others as well, but we certainly will have the latest from that police briefing for you as we continue to follow this story out of Saskatchewan. Well, on to other news now. And if you've ever tossed a jam jar or yogurt container into the recycling without rinsing it out first, or put something in a blue bin that wasn't recyclable, well, it turns out you might well have been doing more harm than good. And tonight, as part of the CBC News series, Reduce, Reuse, Rethink, we're taking a closer look at a growing contamination crisis. Too many people are throwing garbage in their blue bins. Toronto, Edmonton, and Halifax have the dirtiest recycling, but it's a problem right across the country, and we have a choice: either clean it up or pay for it.
Every percentage point that we can bring that down, we can save the city between $600,000 and $1 million a year. And that correlates right back into the rates that we charge for waste collection. So the more we can bring that contamination down, the less we have to charge for those services.
So the push is on to educate people and manufacturers about what can and can't be recycled. Christine Birak sorts through some of the most common contaminants.
Every day, Canadians are playing recycling roulette. Ribbons, light bulbs, clothing, coffee cups. Which bin do you put it in?
Oh, I've landed on toothbrush and paste. I really don't know, seriously.
The answer is garbage. But if you toss it into recycling thinking, who knows? It could end up here.
So you're on the tipping floor of the largest material recovery facility in Canada.
If you can picture it, 800 swimming pools full of loose materials arrive here every day to be sorted and hopefully go on to a new life. What can't be recycled is called a contaminant.
There's a variety of materials that are valuable that are here, and then there's a variety of materials that are a problem.
Is that a problem?
Unfortunately, sad monkey is a problem. That's a contaminant. I see a pair of jeans, I see a backpack here, things that just shouldn't be in a blue box.
Neither should unwashed jars of peanut butter, propane cylinders, syringes, or black plastic containers. Roughly a quarter of what comes in can't move through here.
It can damage equipment, it can cause safety problems for the people that work here, it can contaminate the very valuable materials that come through a facility like this, and we have to do something about that contamination.
Paper towels, candy wrappers, black lid. You know, there's really only one thing in that bag. Oh, and a dead mouse. Look at that. That's obviously not recycling, a dead mouse in a mouse trap. And that's costing every resident in the city money right now. Oh my God.
Sorting and processing misplaced garbage is costing Toronto residents more than $9 million a year. Dead animals aside, what goes into your blue bin has become complicated by mixed plastics and mixed messaging.
And there's a complete disconnect between what a municipality will accept and what manufacturers and retailers are putting into the market and saying is recyclable. And I think it's causing frustration.
Did you get a calendar?
Yes, they did.
Toronto is offering recycling ambassadors to answer questions. One of the most common mistakes, throwing dark garbage bags into recycling bins. At this building, they did something about it.
Yes, we have. And one of the things that we've added to our bins, just as another last-minute reminder to people, is we've created these signs: garbage only, no recycling, no organics on the sign. Recycling only, no dark garbage bags, no organics.
I'm confused about light bulbs.
When in doubt, go online. Cities offer quick sorting tools. They know recycling can be a tricky, expensive game. Christine Birak, CBC News, Toronto.
Our recycling series will continue in the weeks ahead. If you'd like to weigh in on any of the stories, CBC News has created a special Facebook page. You can leave comments and share your ideas on how we can rethink recycling in this country. We are live on the National, and we're tracking breaking news out of Saskatchewan. As we've been telling you, a bus carrying a hockey team has been involved in a deadly collision with a semi-trailer. This happening near Tisdale, about 200 kilometers northeast of Saskatoon. As of this hour, police haven't said how many fatalities there are, but the RCMP is expected to give an update in just about 20 minutes from now. We'll have the latest for you from that. The Nipawin Hawks of the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League say that the crash involved the team bus of the team they were supposed to be playing tonight, the Humboldt Broncos. Now, we don't know who was on the bus, but according to the team roster, the players are all from Western Canada. They range in age from 16 to 21. So we're going to stay on this story, of course, throughout this evening. Over the past 7 weeks, we brought you stories about the students in Parkland, Florida. You've heard their voices calling for stricter gun control, but they've also been writing. And today, the school's paper, the Eagle Eye, released its special memorial issue. We spoke to one of the editors about the student-led tribute, and that is our moment of the day.
It was probably one of the the hardest issue we've ever had to put together and probably will ever have to put together. I was assigned to write a profile on Nicholas Dorat, the swimmer. And for me, visiting his family and getting quotes from them and interviewing his friends was very difficult. Even though some of us didn't know these people personally, you really get invested into their lives, and it almost feels as if they were one of your close friends, and it almost feels like you lost a family member. And so when I was writing the story, I remember I was literally wiping tears away from my eyes as I was typing, and so it just took me a very long time to write this story. But I promised his family that I would write the best story I could ever write for him. And it's kind of like a bittersweet moment for us in newspaper because, yes, we do want the world to see like how wonderful each individual was. It's sad because just now, like, it's almost like it's over. Like, there's nothing else to say about them because the lives that they led on they were all cut short.
You know, the tragedy in Parkland, unimaginable, but so too has been the reaction by the survivors. You know, we had a chance to talk to some of them. I was there the day of the shooting. We were doing an interview nearby, and you know, the poise of people, the eloquence, and we see it again with that incredible student newspaper. They got some help, but they still managed to do a great job. Anyway, that is the National for Friday, April the 6th. Good night.